Ready to level up your leadership game?
Always.
Today, we're diving deep into executive presence.
Ooh, I like that.
But we're not just defining it. We're going to give you the tools to actually cultivate it.
Yeah.
Our guide, a fantastic article by executive coach Miguel Nogral. It's full of advice on building confidence.
And assertiveness.
Two absolute musts for authentic leadership.
And he's got some serious frameworks backing it up.
Oh, what?
He uses the Bates model of executive presence.
Interesting.
And get this, he brings in insights from Manfred Kets to Vries.
Okay, I know that name.
He's the expert on self-sabotage.
Right. The psychology of leadership. So fascinating.
That really is.
Okay, so let's break down this Bates model. What exactly goes into executive presence?
Well, the Bates model, or sometimes it's called ExPI, it breaks it down into 3 core dimensions.
3. Okay.
Character, substance, and style.
It's got 3 dimensions. It makes me think of how people see sharks.
Sharks.
Yeah, before their first time diving with them. There's so much fear because people don't get it.
Don't get what?
That they're creatures with depth.
Oh, I see.
But sharks are incredibly complex.
True.
Just like people.
Yeah.
We have these different dimensions that when they click,
Yeah.
they create this powerful presence.
That's a fantastic analogy.
Thank you.
And those sharks, you got to understand each dimension to truly get the whole picture. So let's start with character.
Okay.
It's about your authenticity, integrity, core values you project.
Mm-hmm.
Think of someone like Nelson Mandela.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
He had this incredible ability to inspire trust, respect, because people genuinely believed in him, in who he was.
So it's less about, putting on a leadership act.
Yeah.
And more about letting your true self come through.
You nailed it. Your character is the foundation.
Got it.
Then there's substance. This is where your knowledge, expertise, experience come in, inspiring confidence through your depth of understanding.
I like that.
Think of a seasoned surgeon, right?
Yeah.
They have this calm, assured presence. You instantly feel at ease
Makes sense.
because you know they have the skills to back it up.
So we've got the moral compass of character and the know-how of substance. What about style? Does that mean, I need to be super charismatic, like some leadership celebrity or something?
Not at all. Style is more about how you engage, communicate,
Okay.
your overall presence. Think Oprah Winfrey.
Interesting.
She commands attention, fantastic listener, connects deeply with people.
Right.
Assertiveness is key here.
Assertiveness.
But it's not about being aggressive or domineering. It's about confident and clear communication.
That makes sense. But it strikes me that this is way bigger than just giving a good presentation. It's about cultivating these qualities over time, right?
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And here's where it gets really interesting. The Bates model emphasizes that executive presence is all about how others perceive you, not just how you see yourself.
Wow, that's huge. You could feel super confident inside. But if it's not projected, it's like it doesn't even count.
Exactly.
You have to bridge that gap between intention and perception.
Right.
And I feel like one way to do that is by developing a growth mindset.
A growth mindset, that's key.
We hear about it a lot, but it's easy to toss the term around without really getting it.
It really is. It was developed by psychologist Carol Dweck. And it basically means believing your abilities and intelligence are not fixed.
Okay.
You can constantly learn, grow, and improve through effort and dedication.
So it's like saying, hey, I might not be there yet, but I'm all in on becoming a better leader.
That's a great way to put it.
I've seen it firsthand.
Yeah.
It can be totally transformative. A few years back, I was asked to speak at this conference, and honestly, full-blown imposter syndrome hit me hard.
Oh, I know that feeling.
But instead of giving in to the fear, I used it as a learning opportunity. I studied public speaking, practiced like crazy, and I crushed it.
That's the growth mindset in action.
Right.
Embracing the challenge, focusing on growth.
Yeah.
You pushed past your fear and achieved something amazing.
And it showed me that even seasoned leaders have doubts. So how does this growth mindset actually help us build the confidence and assertiveness we need for executive presence?
It shifts the focus from, I need to be perfect, to, I'm here to learn and grow. With a growth mindset.
Yeah.
You see challenges as opportunities to develop, not threats to your ego.
Likely.
You're more likely to take risks, experiment, go outside your comfort zone.
As you're not afraid to mess up. You see mistakes as stepping stones, right?
Exactly. And you're way more open to feedback, even the tough kind.
Yeah.
You see it as a tool to find your blind spots, areas to improve.
Like Satya Nadella. When he became CEO of Microsoft, he completely flipped the culture from know-it-all to learn-it-all.
That's a powerful example.
It wasn't about proving you were the smartest. It was about embracing curiosity,
Yeah.
asking questions, being open to new ideas, even from junior team members.
That shift takes real confidence and humility. It's about making people feel safe to share, even if ideas are half-baked or maybe even wrong.
Right.
That vulnerability is where innovation comes from.
Wow, I never thought about it that way. So it's not just about the leader having a growth mindset. It's about building that culture across the whole organization,
You got it.
which takes guts, especially at the top.
For sure,
It's so much easier to pretend you have all the answers. Surround yourself with the yes people.
it really is.
But truly, great leaders know the best ideas can come from anywhere.
That's right.
So it's a huge mindset shift.
Yes.
Letting go of the need to be right all the time and embracing collective learning.
And that's a powerful message, not just for leaders, but for all of us.
This whole growth mindset thing, it really hits home for me. It's not just about reaching some like perfect leadership state. It's about the journey,
We agree.
continually evolving to be more confident, more assertive, more authentic in how we lead.
Absolutely. It's like climbing a mountain, right?
Yeah.
You don't just magically teleport to the summit. You
Right.
gotta put in the effort, face those challenges, and enjoy the process of getting there.
I like that analogy.
Along the way, you find hidden strengths, overcome obstacles, learn so much about yourself.
For sure. But we all have those inner dragons, those pesky psychological barriers that trip us up, that voice of self-doubt, the fear of failing.
Oh, we all have them. Our source material actually goes deep on this.
Oh, tell me.
It's Manfred Vries' concept of the Golden Larva Syndrome.
Golden Larva Syndrome. Okay, I'm intrigued.
It's a pretty vivid term, but it's basically about how we self-sabotage, those often unconscious patterns that hold us back.
Wow. Okay, so tell me about these, like, sneaky saboteurs.
Well, Kets Vries identifies three main culprits: fear of failure, fear of success, and imposter syndrome.
Okay, I've definitely felt all three of those.
Let's start with the most common one, fear of failure. That feeling of not wanting to mess up, disappoint others, damage our reputations.
Ugh, yeah, it can be paralyzing. When I got my first leadership role, I was so scared of making the wrong decision, I practically became indecisive.
That's classic fear of failure. Leads to avoiding risks, procrastination, missed opportunities.
It's true.
It's like that saying, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Right. I think a lot of us are taught that failure is bad, something to be ashamed of. But what if we saw it as a learning experience?
That's where that growth mindset comes in again.
Right.
When failure becomes an opportunity for growth, it loses its power over you. It's a stepping stone, not a roadblock.
But what about fear of success? That one's always confused me. Why would anyone be afraid of succeeding?
It might seem counterintuitive, but success often brings more pressure, responsibility, visibility.
Yeah.
And some people find that overwhelming, so they start to subconsciously sabotage themselves.
So it's like a self-preservation thing.
Exactly.
Like, if I don't aim too high, I won't have to deal with the consequences.
It's exactly that. They might worry about the workload, the scrutiny, the expectations,
Yeah.
or maybe even losing their sense of identity, or alienating the people around them.
It's like that feeling of, if I reach this big goal, will people still like me? Well, I still like myself.
Those are very real fears. And they often come from a lack of self-belief or fear of change.
Yeah, I get that.
It's important to remember that success doesn't have to change who you are at your core.
Right.
It's about expanding your capabilities and using your influence in a positive way.
So how do we overcome that fear of the unknown? That fear of becoming a bigger version of ourselves?
It starts with acknowledging those fears, understanding where they come from. Are they based on past experiences, limiting beliefs, societal pressures? Once you figure out the root, you can start challenging those negative thoughts, replace them with something more empowering.
Reframing the narrative.
Right.
So instead of fearing success, we see it as an opportunity for growth.
Contributing, making a positive impact.
I like that.
It can also be helpful to visualize yourself succeeding. Imagine yourself handling those challenges with confidence.
Visualizing success, like athletes do, picturing themselves winning.
Exactly. It works for leadership, too.
Yeah.
By visualizing those high-stakes situations, you build mental resilience, prepare yourself for the challenges.
And speaking of challenges, let's not forget imposter syndrome. That one seems super common, especially among high achievers.
It really is that nagging feeling of being a fraud, not deserving your success, constantly fearing you'll be exposed.
Oh, why not? Well,
It can lead to self-doubt, anxiety, and downplaying your accomplishments.
even people who seem super confident I think they struggle with this too. It's that secret fear that we're not as smart or capable as people think.
And what's tricky is that imposter syndrome can become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
How so?
If you believe you're not good enough, you might hold yourself back, avoid risks, sabotage your own success.
Wow. So how do we break free from that? Quiet that inner critic that keeps saying you're not good enough.
The first step is realizing you're not alone. Imposter syndrome is incredibly common, especially in high-pressure environments. The more you talk about it, the more you realize. Even the most successful people feel this way.
It's important to normalize those feelings. Like,
Yeah.
it's okay to feel this. It doesn't mean you're not capable.
Exactly. Once you acknowledge it, you can challenge those feelings. Ask yourself, what evidence do I have to support these negative thoughts?
Okay.
Often, the evidence shows the opposite. You have a track record of success.
So it's about focusing on our strengths instead of our perceived flaws.
Yes. And reframing what success means.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be about external validation or comparing yourself. It's about setting personal goals, pushing yourself to grow, celebrating those small wins along the way.
It's a real mindset shift.
It is.
Moving from fear and self-doubt to self-acceptance and self-compassion.
And that's where the real magic happens. When you start believing in yourself, in your abilities, you open yourself up to so much more.
This is also inspiring, but I think our listeners might be wondering, okay, this mindset stuff is great, but how do I actually do it?
Right.
What are the concrete steps to build executive presence
Yeah.
and overcome these psychological barriers?
That's a great question. And luckily, our source material has some really practical advice. It's like creating your own personal executive presence toolkit.
I love that. Okay, let's break down this toolkit. What are the essentials?
Well, we've already talked about one of the most powerful tools, cultivating a growth mindset.
Right.
Embracing challenges, seeking feedback, seeing mistakes as learning opportunities.
So shifting that internal dialogue from I can't to I'm not there yet, but I'm willing to learn.
You got it. It also means surrounding yourself with supportive people. Find mentors, coaches, or peers who can offer guidance, encouragement, and honest feedback.
I'm all about mentorship. Having someone who believes in you
Yeah.
and pushes you out of your comfort zone is so valuable.
Another key tool is practicing assertive communication, being able to express your thoughts, ideas, and needs with confidence and clarity while respecting other perspectives.
Assertiveness is something I've definitely had to work on. I used to be such a people pleaser, afraid of conflict, but real leadership means speaking up, even when it's uncomfortable.
That's powerful, and it's a skill you can build with practice. Start by paying attention to your body language. Stand tall, make eye contact, speak in a clear and steady voice.
It's amazing how much our physical presence impacts how others see us.
It's true, and don't be afraid to use I statements.
Oh, good tip.
Like, instead of, you're wrong, try, I have a different perspective on this.
That's much better. So it's about being assertive without being aggressive.
Exactly. Assertiveness isn't about winning or always being right. It's about advocating for yourself and your ideas while being open to dialogue and collaboration.
It's about that balance of confidence and humility.
Precisely. And that brings us to another crucial tool, self-awareness.
Self-awareness, that's a big one.
Yeah.
But how do we actually cultivate that? This seems easier said than done.
It is, but there are some practical steps. One of the most effective is asking for feedback. Ask your colleagues, your manager, even friends and family for honest insights into your strengths and areas to improve.
I've found that 360-degree feedback can be so helpful.
It's invaluable. And don't just focus on the positive feedback. Pay attention to the constructive criticism, even if it's tough to hear. Yeah. Remember, feedback is a gift, even when it comes in a prickly package.
I love that analogy. It's true, the most valuable feedback is often the kind that makes us uncomfortable.
Another great way to build self-awareness is through journaling or reflection. Take some time each day to think about your interactions, decisions, reactions. Ask yourself, what went well? What could I have done differently? What did I learn?
It's like having a conversation with yourself,
Think-
processing your experiences, identifying patterns.
And the more self-aware you become, the better you can identify your triggers. Manage your emotions, make conscious choices that align with your values.
This is all making so much sense. But how do we know if we're actually making progress? How do we measure our growth in terms of executive presence and leadership?
That's a really important question, and thankfully, our source material offers some practical advice. It's about creating a leadership style that genuinely reflects who you are.
I like that.
It's not about trying to fit into some mold.
Right.
It's about finding your authentic voice as a leader.
So let's dive into that. How do we measure that progress? And how do we find that authentic leadership style? So before we went to, well, I guess not a break, but before we shifted gears a bit, we were talking about self-awareness and executive presence.
Yeah.
It's like that inner compass, right? That guides our actions, helps us stay true to our values.
Absolutely. Knowing your strengths, weaknesses, your values, understanding how you impact those around you.
And we were getting into how to actually measure progress. It's great to talk about growth mindset, self-awareness, but how do we know if we're actually, making a difference?
It's a good question. And I think the key is to remember that leadership development, it's not a straight line.
Yeah,
There will be ups and downs, times you feel stuck. But it's about staying committed to the journey and celebrating the small wins along the way.
I like that, focusing on progress, not perfection. So what are some like tangible signs we're on the right track, that our executive presence is actually shining through?
Well, one of the most obvious signs is that people start reacting to you differently.
Oh, interesting.
They might be more engaged in meetings, more likely to ask for your opinion, or more willing to, follow your lead.
So it's not just about how we feel inside, it's about how that presence is perceived by others.
Exactly. You might also notice you're more comfortable speaking up in meetings, sharing your ideas, advocating for yourself and your team, less afraid to take risks, try new things.
I can definitely relate to that. The more I've embraced the growth mindset
Hmm.
and focused on my development, the more confident I feel as a leader.
That's fantastic. Another sign of progress, being open to feedback even when it's tough.
Ooh, that's a big one.
You can take it in without getting defensive and use it to grow.
It's easy to get caught up in our egos, but when we let go of needing to be right, that's where the real learning happens.
I couldn't agree more. And speaking of learning, when you're leveling up your leadership, you actively seek out opportunities to grow and develop.
Yeah, makes sense.
You might attend workshops, read books, listen to podcasts, or find mentors to guide you.
That thirst for knowledge, for self-improvement, it becomes like insatiable.
It really does.
You realize leadership isn't a destination. It's a journey of continuous learning.
And the beauty is that journey is unique to each person. There's no one-size-fits-all for authentic leadership.
Right.
It's about discovering your strengths, your style, leading in a way that feels true to you.
So it's not about being someone we're not. It's about amplifying the best parts of ourselves.
Exactly. And that's what makes authentic leadership so powerful. When you're genuine, people can feel it.
Yeah.
They're drawn to your energy, your passion, your commitment to a shared vision.
It's like they say, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
I love that. Authentic leadership is about connecting with people, building trust, creating that shared purpose.
And when you have that foundation of trust and purpose, incredible things can happen.
They really care.
Teams become stronger, organizations more innovative, individuals feel empowered to do their best work.
It's a ripple effect. Authentic leadership goes beyond just the leader. It impacts everyone they interact with.
This has been such a great conversation. We've covered so much: executive presence, growth mindset, self-sabotage.
Authentic leadership.
We have given our listeners so many tools and strategies to build their own executive presence and make a positive impact in their lives and the world.
It all comes down to taking action.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about.
A final thought.
Yeah, a question to ponder as they go on their leadership journey.
Okay, how about this? Knowing what you know now about executive presence and authentic leadership, what's one small step you can take today to start building your own unique leadership style and make a difference in the world?
That's a great question. I hope our listeners really take that to heart. Maybe it's 10 minutes of self-reflection, practicing assertive communication, or reaching out to someone you admire for advice.
Any step, no matter how small, moves you closer to your goals, and it creates that ripple effect.
Well said. Huge thanks to you for sharing your insights with us. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you feel equipped to take your leadership to the next level.
It's been a pleasure.